Please welcome to the stage President and CEO of HECO, Hawaiian Electric Company, and Mina Morita, Alan Oshima, and Mina Morita, the former chair of the Public Utility Commission. Please join me. Welcome.
Thank you.
Right here. So I feel like I'm sitting a little behind you here. So, well, let's leave it because we have a whole lot of people here who have set this up just right. I think, but I'll lean forward. And so we're now on this journey. We've got this mandate. We've got a lot of the right people in the room. The ecosystem is kind of sitting here in this room. And one of the things that impresses me about this in Hawaii, this goal of 100% by 2045, is that there seems to be pretty widespread alignment on the goal. That's not really controversial. Is that correct, Alan? Is that?
Absolutely. I always remark that in this state, it's so great that we're all aligned to the final goal. And I think the disagreements we have are the micro actions that take us there. But I think when Mina and I talk, I think it's incredible that we're aligned towards that goal. So the electric sector will get there. I'm very confident of that. And as the governor and others have said earlier, we now have to actually put more energy, I think, into the transportation sector, because the real goal is to get Hawaii off of imported fossil fuel, not only in the electric sector, but for all sectors.
Right. So, Mina, is that, first of all, do you concur is there any controversy here about the goal itself or how fast we should get there?
I don't think there's any disagreement on the goal itself. I think where there's a little misalignment is how do we get there and the steps to get there.
So that's the what would it take question, or what will it take to get to 100%? And Alan, you said something to me the other day that about people need to take accountability for their role in this. So what does that mean? Explain that.
Yeah, I think it's been easy for people to focus only on the electric utilities role, which, by the way, I must assure you that we are totally in it to win it. I mean, we are so aligned to try to get to 100%, but we have to do it responsibly. And I like to ask people to take personal accountability in their part in getting the state to that goal. And it's not only on the electric generation side, as we have individuals with rooftop PV, they are actually generators as well. And so we have to come up with a reasonable portfolio that works for all and protects all of our customers while getting to the state's goal. And for that, everyone has to take some accountability and understand what their role is. And it's not only about providing for themselves, but how does their role actually move the state and everyone else to fairly get to share in that prosperity of 100% renewable.
I'm going to actually move my chair because I see there's some markers here that somehow, when the microgrid went out, that my chair got somehow magically pushed back. But oh, that's better. I can see you now. So forgive me for rearranging the deck chairs, as it were. So I want to know more about who's not accountable, or who are the people that you don't feel are yet at the table in the right way or aren't taking responsibility? Can you be more specific?
Boy, I think that everybody is trying, but I think we, as a group, have to be more attuned to the overall plan and how do we get there together rather than individually or one resource getting there and how does it all fit together? I know the commission has been focused. Mina started it with our power supply improvement plans, and that still takes a lot of work, by the way. The one thing I can say is that when you look at a 30-year planning horizon, it's not perfect. Most companies who undertake even a master planning process will stretch to get 3 years, at the most 5. And even then, knowing that what's out there is totally uncertain. What we think we have to do is kind of agree on the foundation, the next 5 years, what is necessary to lay the foundation so that we can integrate safely, reliably, and cost-effectively renewables that serves everyone. Here's an example. We come across applications for, under the New Grid Supply program, applications for as many as 60 panels on a rooftop with a family of 4.
What's the wattage of that, kilowattage?
I'm not going to give you the wattage, but I know it's oversized for this house.
It's more than they need.
And on the grid supply, you know, it reconciles monthly. It doesn't add up into a bank for reconciliation annually. And I'm thinking, this is probably not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And the more that we have exporting into the system, and the customer is not going to get the benefit of it because of the monthly reconciliation, we're also creating an additional penetration issue for the neighbors to be able to get rooftop solar. So that's what I mean. I think there has to be kind of an alliance of thought as to what makes sense to get everyone there.
So one of the areas, Mina, that there's, I think maybe a little creative tension, if you will, is the role of distributed generation versus utility scale, I guess central or more central at least, generation. Because a lot of the energy, if you will, the excitement is around everyone having a big rooftop installation, or at least in the case of solar. And you're saying that that may not be the most efficient way to do this.
Exactly. I mean, I think, you know, we got a kickstart through distributed generation, but we have to look at this in stages. What we're going through is a total system transformation. And we went through stage 1 where we were getting the DG onto the existing system without big changes, you know, little operational changes, but nothing transformational at that. We're going into stage 2 where there's advancing technologies. There's a lot of uncertainty out there. And so to me, stage 2 is looking at this system. Where will we make the best investments where we take a no-regret strategy in preparing for the future? And so we're working with a very an evolving system. So we have to understand that getting to 100% isn't a straight shot, and especially when there's so much uncertainty out there. And so how to approach it systematically.
It feels like you're choosing your words carefully, and I'm not sure you answered my question in terms
You're putting me on the spot.
Well, this is something we talked about when we discussed the other day, that there's seems to be a lot more interest in the distributed side, and that, again, that may not be optimizing the system. And Alan, of course, I'd love to have you weigh in on that as well.
Well, I think when you look at what it will take to get to 100%, a lot of it is dependent on utility scale projects. If you look at the situation today, you know, we still have, about 75% of customers out there that are not being served by DG or DER. And those are the customers that aren't in the room right now, sharing in this excitement, because a lot of it...
Commercial and industrial as well as residential, who are you referring to?
Basically residential.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we have to be mindful of what it will take the entire community to move forward, rather than just those that can afford the new technologies, you know, have the ability to place these kinds of systems on their facilities. So we're not just designing a system for that segment, we're designing a system for the entire community.
Alan, do you want to weigh in?
Well, it has to be a holistic look at this. So you can't just look at a rooftop producing a net product to feed the grid or to serve that household. You have to look at what the system needs. So when we have such a high, I was at Edison Electric last week at our annual meeting, heard Southern California Edison saying that they're now taking about 1.5 days to approve rooftop PV applications. I quickly texted back to Jim Alberts and others in our company saying, look at this, they're doing it in a day and a half. And they quickly texted back to me saying, yeah, but as a percentage of their total penetration, they would have to have about 800,000 customers compared to us to make it equivalent. And, Alan, when we first started rooftop PV in Hawaii, there was no application. It was notification for us to just install the net energy meter because it was so light. When we had that big spike in applications and a lot of rooftop coming on all at the same time, particularly in highly penetrated areas that could use the net energy meter and the tax credits, we had a different situation. And now we had to protect the grid and the rest of the customers. So you can't compare jurisdictions until you look at the weighted average of their usage. I think that with our high solar penetration, and wind, by the way, we need more load during the day that can still provide value to the customer, lower their bills, and actually encourage us to take more rooftop solar. And that's where I think electrification of transportation offers Hawaii a very exciting opportunity that we have to get out in front of to increase our load, give our customers value, lower their bills, and lower everyone's bills.
It sounds in some ways that there's a lot of focus on the components, the rooftop, or the recharging station, and less so on the system. And part of that system is, of course, the grid, which you still need, doesn't go away necessarily in a renewable energy world. What do you think is the part of the conversation or the education that is missing so far in terms of, again, getting everyone in this room and in this state on the same page? Mina, do you want to take that on?
I think what's missing in the discussion is where should a major part of our investments go? And I personally feel it should go into the public infrastructure, the grid, our fuel infrastructure, which, unless we have competitive fuel pricing, I mean, it's a difficult situation to deal with regarding imported fuels. And our communications infrastructure. Those are three components that are critical to our economic viability that take major investments and major planning efforts as we work through this whole energy transformation.
When you talk about the fuel infrastructure, are you talking about the vehicle electrification, the move to that, or is that something else?
That's part of it, but we have to look at fuels in general, and part of this discussion is the role of LNG in our fuel infrastructure. So we have 2 refineries that are going to be major targets for reinvestment. What role do they play as we move forward in this? What other kinds of fuels can we bring in, low carbon or renewable, into this fuel infrastructure to create a competitive environment? How do we create that grid platform where we can create this network of networks that so many participants in this room are excited about, those technologies involved in that. In our communications is going to play a critical role in how we move forward in the interaction between the utility, the third-party service providers, and the customers. So these are really big picture items that we have to look at rather than just concentrating on the generation, the 100% renewable.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. Smart grid has to happen. We have to have more connectivity and two-way communications with our customers. Our customers need the ability to manage their own load with good information. Mina always talks about big data. We have to use the data that we can obtain from our customers in the grid to improve our service, give customers more choice, and actually become more efficient. The grid is that important, and there's no question about that. What do we do on top of the grid? Who owns the generation resources? How do you manage the generation resources are all the big hot topic issues. I always believe that there will always be, in a separated island state like ours, where none of our grids are interconnected, nor are we connected to the contiguous 48, that whatever we produce, we have to use, and whatever we don't use or that we need, we have to produce, unless batteries become incredibly cheap. So, or we have pump storage hydro that, of such a scale that will allow us to do something else. For that, and some of you will remember, those of us who were here when we had 40 days and 40 nights of rain and no wind, no amount of battery storage would have carried us through that period. Now, those are one-off events, I know, but as the climate change occurs, we cannot predict those one-off events and how often they will occur. On the mainland, you can hedge your bets because you can go off the grid, to the grid to seek relief. We don't have that opportunity. So I think we have to really try to maintain a sustainable, resilient grid, a sustainable, resilient portfolio of generation resources. And the governor just talked about the MOU with the Department of Defense. We put a lot of energy into working with the Department of Defense, knowing that they are our largest customer, but play such an important role in Hawaii's economy. And what they demand is a resilient grid, reliable, good power source, good power quality. Everyone's depending upon technology now. And so the quality of electricity is as important as the resiliency and the reliability. For that, you have to pay attention to all aspects of your sources, your grid, and your uses.
What's the role of efficiency in here? I think we all know what the role of efficiency is, so I don't want to get to that, but how much attention is being paid to it in this great conversation about a renewable economy?
Well, besides a renewable portfolio standard, we also have an efficiency portfolio standard that must be met. And so, yes, they should be given equal.
And is that conversation robust? Is that making progress, or is there too much emphasis on one or the other?
Yeah, not enough emphasis, I think, on efficiency. It's just not as sexy as renewables.
I think we can do even more with energy. That's the best thing to do first, right? So even as I sought my rooftop panels for installation, I couldn't get anyone to give me a solar hot water system and then get the net load to go to PVs, because the incentives were there, the pricing was there really to just go straight to PV. If we're really looking at this holistically, we should go to the least cost, low technologies first, eliminate some of those issues, and then go after the remainder with the higher technology. We can do that. We can do retrofits for LED lighting, save a lot of energy through our buildings. But again, this is how it's counterintuitive. When we do that savings, I'd also love to see more air conditioning in some of our spaces to increase the load, decrease the bill, and make it favorable for all of our customers.
So load balancing over the course of the day?
Load balancing is important, and we have to look at things not in the old way. We have to look at it in a completely different way. There's so many hybrids out there that we have to consider, because we are the leaders in moving towards this renewable future.
Yeah. I want to take some questions in just a minute, but before I do, sorry, you're going to...
Well, efficiency has always been an afterthought, but it's something that should be built in every aspect of the energy supply chain. And
what needs to happen that isn't happening now for that to be realized?
I guess just being aware and more educated about it.
Are there the entrepreneurs offering those kinds of services the way that there are so many solar installers and others?
Well, I think it starts from the design, from the concept, as we're building or renovating, efficiency should already be embedded in within our building codes, for example, or more aggressive. There's some, but again, when new products come online, there's changes happening, new products. Those are things that have to be, nothing's static. Everything is evolving,
yeah.
And that should be, part of our thought process. Mm-hmm.
I really think that the electric industry as a whole, but Hawaii more than others, have to get ahead of the curve on autonomous driving and electrification of transportation. It's going to happen faster than we think. And if we deny it that it's going to happen, we're going to be left in the dust. From a utility standpoint, we have to look at if EVs become as prevalent as I think they will be, how they charge, when they charge will create new different dynamics on our load balancing and the need for generation. We're going to have to need time of use rates that are robust. We're going to have methods of charging that meets the customer's needs. We're going to have to do all of this, and we're doing this now within our company, planning for that future. But we will have to work alongside policymakers and others to make sure that this new load at different times of day will work out for all and not just those who go to EVs.
Let's see if we can get in a quick question or two. Lauren?
So we have several questions, and the first one is, how much of the challenge for Hawaii lies in choosing between distributed and utility scale renewables versus adapting the business models for energy and utility incumbents?
It's all of the above. We have to adapt to new business models. Again, when people start putting things in, we have to do this or that, it's not this or that. We have to do it all. And we have to do it in a balanced fashion, looking at the net effect on everyone. So if you just concentrate on one resource, you're going to miss it. You have to look at all the resources, including demand response, right? Increase of load during the daytime. We're participating to try to get a Tiger grant for electric buses into Oahu and working on the charging protocol for that. So there's so many things happening. That's why it's such an exciting time to be in this industry. And you have to be open to all different methods of solving the problem.
Let's take one more question, Lauren.
When it comes to specific policy changes, are there things that either of you would like to see specifically related to the Public Utilities Commissions, or perhaps lessons that can be drawn from other places with high renewables penetration like Denmark or Germany?
Wow. Mina?
I think the most important right now is the rate structures and rate design. And definitely that's something that's broken right now. I mean, we need to create a robust market using proper rate design.
Absolutely. And by the way, drawing the comparison to Denmark or Germany, where they have adjoining markets where they can export excess energy, they can do the market analysis. We don't have that luxury. So we're isolated, islanded grids, which create other issues for us. That's why Mina and I were talking. It's really a matter of collaborating to try to come up with the best ways to do this in what we have. And we're doing great so far compared to what the world is experiencing. We're so far ahead, but we need to acknowledge that. And then instead of looking back and saying, what did we do wrong? There are a lot of things we did wrong. We have to look forward to see what are the new challenges and how do we face them together to make it fair for everyone.
Well, let's look forward for a minute in the little time that we have left, that we're going to be back here in this hotel on this stage a year from today, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, we are. No, that wasn't the question. Thank you very much. Okay. No, what would be a sign of progress that you'd like to see in a year? Knowing so much that has to be done, all the things we've talked about and many more that we haven't talked about in the last 25 minutes. There's so much to do. What would be a sign that this is starting to move down the path that you'd like to be able to talk about next June? Alan, do you have a?
Yeah, again, it's the same theme, that we would be back in this room, and we're actually agreed on the facts, and we agree that there is no magic bullet, and that we agree that we have to work together to come up with a reasoned approach to getting to 100% renewable. And we also face the issue of what is a reasonable cost, because going to a dramatic change in the way you do business comes at some cost. And there's some choices we have to make between being renewable, being right, or being cheap. And so these are real choices. And right now, I think the regulatory environment, the environment among the community has to change so that we face these issues together. And it's not just the utility being asked to come up with a plan and everyone jumping on and criticizing the plan without any plan of its own. So I think we all have to join hands, face the issues reasonably and with facts, and then move forward.
Do you have an answer for this yet?
that there's no panacea. We come to the understanding that there is no panacea, that this isn't a straight shot to 100% renewables, and that we are in agreement on what kind of critical investments need to be made to set the groundwork to get us to 100% renewable.
I think you've just summed up all that we're going to be talking about for the next 3 days. So thank you for that, and please join me in thanking Mina and Alan.
Thank you.